Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Fellowship of Nanaimo. Our mission is to create spiritual connection and bring compassion, discovery, and social justice to life. My name is Catherine Hazel, and I'm your service leader this morning. My pronouns are she, her. Could you please take a moment now to silence or turn off your cell phones? Thank you. Let's say hello to everyone attending on Zoom. Now we have to turn around and wave to the frog. Yes, right. Okay. Whatever your hopes, dreams, and aspirations, whatever, excuse me, your race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, whatever makes you who you are warmly welcomed here. In keeping with our Unitarian Universalist aspiration of radical inclusion, we invite you to share your pronouns as well as your name if you are comfortable doing so. We have a diversity of voices on Sunday mornings, so our services vary from week to week. They usually run from 60 to 75 minutes. If this is your first time with us, a very special welcome to you. If you're joining us online, please consider sharing your contact information with us. You can do this by going to the chat icon at the bottom of your screen and typing it in there. We'd love to welcome you to the community. You can go to our website, ufon.ca, which has more detailed information on who we are, the services we offer, and how you can connect with us. We acknowledge today that we meet on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation. As Unitarians, we are committed to the work of reconciliation required to address the harm done to all Indigenous peoples and their cultures by non-Indigenous peoples. We have much to learn from the Indigenous perspective that the earth is the source of all life and that our responsibility is to honor and care for it. And now we have some announcements. Don't forget to register for the workshop on reducing your electric bill with solar, which is happening this Saturday, April 19th from 1 to 4 p.m. in the Fellowship Hall and is sponsored by the Environmental Justice Committee. This is your opportunity to learn about the benefits of solar and how to make it affordable for you. The EJC needs to know how many are coming, so please send an email to them at ejc@ufon.ca if you plan to attend. The UU Women's Discussion Group will be meeting on Monday, tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the boardroom at the Fellowship and also via Zoom. You can find the Zoom link in the weekly update. And next week, we have another exciting intergenerational service being offered by Riley Yeo, which follows the adventures of Noah and her community's encounters with some wayward bunnies. We want to attract families with young children, so we'll be handing out postcard invitations to this special service during the offering. Please take one or two, or even more, to give to the young families in your life. This is guaranteed to be fun. To find out about all the special events, groups, and meetings taking place in the fellowship, either go to the calendar on our website or read the weekly update email sent to you on Fridays. Our speaker this morning is Debbie Goodman. Debbie is a wildlife artist, storyteller, and occasional service speaker at our fellowship. She and her husband, Bob, have been members since their 2009 arrival on Vancouver Island. They enjoy being members of this joyful community and camping in the Enchanted Rainforest. Debbie has issued an audience advisory for her talk this morning. Holy Moses, Batman, it's Passover. Expect revisionist history, fake news, and lack of decorum. Let us now enter into sacred time. Leah Hokanson, our musical director, will lead us into worship through music.
Good morning, everyone. This morning's prelude is Border Song by Elton John and Bernie Taupin. Hey Moses, I have been removed. I have seen the specter. He has been here too. Distant cousin from down the line. Brand of people who ain't my kind. Holy Moses, I have been removed. Hey Moses, I have been deceived. Now the wind has changed direction and I'll have to leave. Won't you please excuse my frankness, but it's not my cup of tea. Holy Moses, I have been deceived. I'm going back to the border where my affairs ain't abused. I can't take any more bad water, poison from my head down to my shoes. Oh. Hey Moses, let us live in peace. Let us strive to find a way to make all hatred cease. Well, there's a man over there. What's his color? I don't care. He's my brother. Let us live in peace. Oh, he's my brother. Let us live in peace.
Good morning, everybody. Holy Moses, indeed. Thank you, Leah, for that beautiful rendition of Border Song. Good morning to everyone in the hall and those joining us on Zoom this morning. I really appreciate everyone being here today. Thank you for your presence. It's been quite a week of international news, hasn't it? Ever since Liberation Day. I hope this hour of reflection in music and story will be a time of self-care for you and your soul. I think all of us deserve that right now. So I'd like to invite everyone to relax and just take a few cleansing breaths. Set aside your cares and your worries and the burdens of everyday life as we move into our time together. Let's breathe. Today is both Palm Sunday and the second day of Passover. Today is a day when people recount stories that have been shared for many centuries. On Palm Sunday, the Christian faithful recount their foundational story of Jesus' entry into Jerusalem, greeted by people waving palm fronds. And on Passover, the Jewish faithful recount their foundational story of escaping from slavery to freedom, also known as the Exodus. Jewish people tell the Exodus story over a Seder dinner that is served on the first and second nights of the 8-day Passover holiday. So last night was first Seder, tonight is second Seder. The story is read from a book called the Haggadah, which means telling in Hebrew. The Haggadah is a written guide to the Passover Seder, which commemorates the Israelites' escape from Egypt. The Haggadah includes various prayers, blessings, rituals, fables, songs, and information about how the meal should be prepared. Although modern Haggadah, the plural of Haggadah, can vary widely, the tradition of reading a book to guide the Seder dates back to the Middle Ages, and some of the elements that make up the contemporary Haggadah were used 2,000 years ago. So here's the question I'd like to explore this morning. Why do we humans tell and retell ancient stories, repeat traditional blessings, sing time-honored songs? So we'll start with answers from a couple of contemporary luminaries. The first from poet Amanda Gorman. You may remember her speaking at Joe Biden's presidential inauguration. She says, "We tell stories because we are human, but we are also made more human because we tell stories. When we do this, we tap into an ancient power that makes us and the world more of who we are, a single race looking for reasons, searching for purpose, seeking to find ourselves." And next, from current actor Wendell Pierce, also from the United States, "Storytelling is gateway to truth-telling, which helps inform our opinions, decision-making, and self-views. Sharing our stories allows us to come together, declare what our values are, and act on them. Without storytelling, we would not have the layers of history that impact our present and influence the future. It's impossible to imagine a world," he says, "in which our ancestors did not share their journeys of enslavement, persecution, horror, honor, hope, and triumph." In that spirit, I'll invite Catherine back up to the lectern for our chalice lighting.
For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For gathering today in this sacred space, we light the flame. For the opportunity to be together as a community, to remember the past, to plan for our future, to be alive in our present. As a spiritual community, it is our intention to be authentically present to one another, especially in these difficult times. One way we do this is by taking time in the service to listen to the significant personal milestones in our lives. If you have had such a milestone and wish to share it, now is the time to do so. We'll begin with those of you in the hall, and then we'll invite those attending via Zoom. As I place the final pebble in the water bowl for the joys and concerns that have been left unspoken, I ask that you hold in your heart everything that you have heard and felt.
We share in love, we listen in love, we hold one another in love. Each joy and concern we witness and learn and grow together in love. And grow together in love.
So this is the time in our service that we set aside for a story for people of all ages. And the child within us. So this morning, we're going to share a little animated story that tells the more or less correct, historically accurate Passover story before we start riffing on that a little later on. So when Howard's ready, we'll get that queued up and enjoy the Passover story in, I forget if it's 8 or 10 scenes.
The Passover story in 10 scenes. 1. Long ago in Egypt, a mean ruler named Pharaoh makes the Jewish people slaves. They are forced to do hard work, building cities and pyramids. 2. Pharaoh orders all baby boys born to Jewish families to be taken away. But Moses' family floats baby Moses in a basket on the river. Moses' sister Miriam watches over him when Pharaoh's daughter finds the baby and brings him to the palace to be raised. 3. The Jewish people don't like being slaves at all. They are hungry, tired, and have no control over their lives. They cry out to God for help. 4. Moses, all grown up, goes out from the palace and sees an Egyptian treating a Jewish slave badly. He stops the Egyptian. Now Moses feels that he too is Jewish and runs away from Egypt. 5. Moses is herding sheep when he notices a strange bush. It's on fire, but not burning down. Amazing! He hears God's voice telling him to go to Pharaoh and demand that the Jewish people, Moses' people, be set free. 6. With his brother Aaron, Moses goes to Pharaoh and says, "Let my people go." Pharaoh answers, "Never." 7. God brings terrible plagues on the Egyptians. Water turns to blood. Frogs, wild animals, and locusts are everywhere. People and animals get sick. Hailstones fall from the sky. Everything turns dark. After each plague, Pharaoh agrees to let the Jews go free, but then he changes his mind. Finally, after the 10th plague, Pharaoh frees the Jews. 8. The time has come. With great excitement and nervousness, the Jews pack their things and rush out of Egypt. They go so fast that the bread they are baking in celebration doesn't have time to rise. 9. The Jews think they're safe, but when they reach the big sea, they hear Pharaoh's army chasing after them. Pharaoh has changed his mind again. The Jews are trapped, but then a miracle happens. The sea opens up so the Jewish people can march across between two giant walls of water. 10. The sea closes up. The Jewish people are free. They sing and dance and celebrate. At Passover every year, we remember the miracle of freedom.
To nurture the spark of your precious life, we hold you in our hearts as you go. Nous vous entraînons maintenant et toujours, devant que soyez cultivant ton ciel jour après jour. Nous vous entraînons maintenant.
I'd like to invite everybody into a short meditation time before we do our reflection. So I invite you to get comfortable, relax, let your heart slow down, take a few deep breaths, close your eyes if you wish, leave them open if you prefer. I'll read a passage, we'll have a minute of silence, and then Leah will bring us out of meditation through music. In the springtime, we remember the promised land is not a destination, it is a way of going. The land beyond the Jordan, that country of freedom and dignity and laughter, you carry it inside you all the while. It is planted in your mind and heart already before you ever start out, before it even occurs to you that in order to leave that life in Egypt, the intolerable bondage of that life, what you need to do is stand up and walk forward. In my childhood and my youth, I, of course, heard the Exodus story at Seder dinners. But one thing I didn't notice until watching this morning's video was how often the Pharaoh changed his mind. You may have picked up on that. Each time a plague arrived, he agreed to let the Jewish people go. Later, he reconsidered. He did this 10 times. Well, of course, this reminded me of our current times and our present day mercurial despots. So I've been musing over this and also musing over one of the names of the promised land, which was Canaan, and how historically Canaanite and Israelite culture overlapped. So as I was thinking, one thing led to another, and I imagined a little revisionist history to help us examine the contemporary relevance of this ancient story. So I'll be telling this story in 3 parts. Leah will help me out with a couple of musical interludes, and we hope you enjoy. The first Passover happened long ago in the faraway country of Egyptus. A mean and powerful king called Pharaoh ruled Egyptus. Pharaoh alone ruled on all matters of the kingdom, making laws, waging wars, collecting taxes, and overseeing his lands and subjects. Pharaoh and his subjects believed that Pharaoh was a divine being ordained by the sun god to rule Egyptus. Pharaoh was wealthy. He lived in an enormous compound built on 17 acres near the sea. His palace had 126 rooms. I researched this, people, it's all true. 126 rooms, a spa, a golf club, and many well-guarded gates. The grounds were landscaped with palms and tropical plants, and his subjects considered it a great privilege to be invited there for a visit. The palace interior was decorated with multitudinous golden objects, golden statues, gilded picture frames, gold-plated bathroom fixtures on marble counters with classified documents underneath them. Pharaoh even coated his skin and scalp with gold dust, rendering his face and hair with a most unusual appearance, as if preserved in amber. Pharaoh's queen was known for her tall stature, flowing hair, and very fine garments. The queen was silent and mysterious, to the point that many of her subjects had nicknamed her the Sphinx. Pharaoh's closest advisor was a high priest who was said to be half human and half muskrat. It's gonna get worse, people. No, it shouldn't be on TV. I'd never be able to cross the border again. The subjects and officials of Pharaoh's kingdom feared the wrath of the muskrat, who owned many gold coins, made mysterious pronouncements, and wielded a chainsaw against whatever people, institutions, or structures displeased him. Pharaoh's kingdom was large and prosperous and had good relations with the Canadianite people to the north. The Canadianites were a happy people who excelled in ice hockey and the making of maple syrup. They were known throughout the world for their kindness and good manners and the attractiveness of their leader, Prince Trueglow. For many years, Pharaoh took no notice of the Canadianites. Then one day, Pharaoh's advisors noticed that he had become jealous and resentful of the Canadianites. No one was quite sure when or how it began. Some said it started at a meeting of world leaders, where Pharaoh's queen was seen leaning in for a kiss with the handsome Prince Trueglow. That moment had been captured by royal photographers from many lands and had gone viral. Some said it started when Pharaoh learned that the Canadianites had large reserves of rare earth mineral deposits in their land, some of the largest such reserves in the known world. Whatever the reason, Pharaoh decided that the Canadianites must become his slaves and serve him and his wealth. With a wave of his gold-dusted hand and the signing of a royal proclamation, Pharaoh ordered the imposition of great financial tariffs on Canadianite goods and announced the annexation of all Canadianite lands to commence immediately, if not sooner. Leah, could you give us a little foreboding music? Part 2. The Canadianites were unhappy in their bondage and servitude. Pharaoh and his overseers smote them with tariffs one day, postponed the tariffs another day, and then smote them with tariffs once again. Pharaoh demanded that the Canadianites appease him with offerings of a fentanyl czar and increased border security. When the offerings were provided, Pharaoh waved them off as insufficient. What made Pharaoh most angry was with the Canadianites. No matter how much punishment he inflicted upon them, they would not worship him as their God and divine ruler. Pharaoh stamped his feet, threw his plate of ketchup and French fries across his banquet hall, and hit gold-plated golf balls as hard as he could for hours. In their suffering, the Canadianites called out to the forces of goodness in the universe to send them a new leader. They called out to the four directions, to the northern lights, to the three great oceans of their homeland. They called out to the spirits of the loon, the beaver, the moose, the salmon. They called out to the mighty rivers, the pristine lakes, and the vast forests, and they asked, "Who will save us? Please send someone to save us." The people looked and listened, but all was still and silent. Surely a hero would emerge. Chris Hatfield, Charlie Angus, Arlene Dickinson, Mike Myers. The people fell to their knees in despair. One woman was not looking carefully and knelt on a broken shard from a bottle of Sleeman's Honey Brown Ale. The glass edge cut through her jeans and into the flesh of her shin. Now this woman, she had already had a bad day. 2 employees had called in sick at the business she owned, and orders were getting backlogged. One of her teenagers had left for school without the backpack that held their homework that was due that day, and she had to rush home and deliver the forgotten backpack to the high school. The dog had thrown up on the front doormat, and she stepped in dog vomit while rushing to retrieve the backpack. In short, she had had it up to here, people, and now something sharp was slicing her leg open. "Jesus Murphy!" she screamed in a voice so loud she couldn't recognize it as her own. Jesus Murphy. Leah, tell us what happened next.
God had a name. What would it be, and would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you ask if you had just one question? And yeah, God is great. Yeah, God is good. Yeah. What if God was one of us? Just a slow black one of us. Just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home. If God had a face, what would it look like, and would you want to see? If seeing meant that you would have to believe in things like heaven and in Jesus and the saints and all the prophets, and yeah, God is great. Yeah, God is good. Yeah. What if God was one of us? Just a slow black one of us. Just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home. Trying to make his way home. Back up to heaven all alone. Nobody calling on the phone. Except for the Pope, maybe in Rome.
And so it came to pass. The clouds parted, a heavenly light shone from above, and a voice asked, "Who said that?" The great voice from the heavens repeated its question, "Who said that?" A woman wearing a flannel shirt and a knitted toque raised her hand. She didn't feel like saying her name. "You can call me Mrs. And who's asking?" The heavenly voice responded, "I am who I am. I am what I am." Mrs. was growing impatient. "Are you some sort of artificial intelligence deep fake thing? Speak plainly, will you? And can somebody pass me a handkerchief? My leg is a mess here. The heavenly apparition recognized that it should not mess with a hockey mom. It softened its voice and said, "Fine, call me Love." As Love spoke, Mrs. noticed that her leg had stopped bleeding, her cut was healing, and the rip in her jeans was mending itself. "Mrs.," said Love, "I am choosing you to save your people from the Pharaoh." "Is this going to take a long time?" asked Mrs., "because I still have to take my kids to hockey practice this afternoon and then figure out what we're having for dinner tonight." "Take this device," said Love. "It will save you time." Love handed Mrs. a holy tablet. "What is this?" Mrs. asked. "iPad, 11th generation," responded Love. "And it's now tariff exempt as of yesterday." "I thought they were only up to the 10th generation," said Mrs. "Ah, next generation prototype," said Love. "I get the advanced version as a courtesy to the Almighty." "What shall I do with the holy tablet?" asked Mrs. "You must open an account on X," said Love, "and begin tweeting." "You must be kidding," said Mrs. "Everyone knows the muskrat owns X. I don't want any part of it." "I'm sorry," said Love. "It's the only way to communicate with the Pharaoh. All other means exceed his level of understanding." "What should I tweet?" asked Mrs. "Tell him that Love is angry," responded Love. "Tell Pharaoh that Love wants him to leave the Canadianites alone. Tell Pharaoh to take Love into his heart. Tell him that Love will bring plagues to Pharaoh's subjects if he doesn't do as Love is asking." "Fine," said Mrs. "I'm on it." That evening, as her teenagers did their homework and the laundry was spinning in the washing machine, Mrs. began posting her tweets to the Pharaoh. "Stop in the name of love," she posted. She thought that was kind of clever, with a maple leaf emoji. Pharaoh snorted as he laughed. "Love doesn't hold the cards," he retorted. The Egyptus stock market began dropping the next morning, but Pharaoh shrugged it off. "Some disruption is to be expected," his spokesman said. The investors of Egyptus were not comforted, but most were afraid to speak up. Mrs. posted again a few days later. "All you need is love." "Who needs love when you have tariffs?" Pharaoh sneered. "Beautiful tariffs." That afternoon, tornadoes, dust storms, and wildfires struck large portions of Pharaoh's kingdom. Many of Pharaoh's subjects lost their homes, cars, and possessions, but his property was unaffected, and he spent the afternoon playing golf. Mrs. could see she wasn't getting through to Pharaoh. She wondered if she was the right person for the task, but she tried one more time. "More love, less ego," she tweeted. Pharaoh was paying scant attention and misread less ego as less egg. "I'll be making my people so rich they won't care about egg prices," Pharaoh scoffed. Over the next few days, new avian flu outbreaks spread at poultry operations throughout Pharaoh's kingdom. "My people should stop obsessing about egg prices and look at how rich they are going to be," said Pharaoh. "No problem. Let the disease run its course," said his health minister. Mrs. called out to Love. "Love, I don't think I can do this. I'm not the right person. I'm an ordinary mom. I'm busy, and I'm tired. Pharaoh won't listen to me, and I don't have the right words." It was a spring morning, much like today. Mrs. looked around at the blooming hyacinths, heard the chattering birds in the hedgerow. smelled the freshness of the newly turned soil. Her tablet lit up with the words of Irish poet John O'Donoghue. When one flower blooms, spring awakens everywhere. Mrs. thought that was nice, but she wasn't sure what to make of it. So here we are, my dear ones. It's Palm Sunday. It's Passover. We don't know how this story will end. We are living it in the here and now. This is an unfinished story, and we will live its unfolding together. Nonetheless, the Seder offers us one additional set of symbols to spark our imaginative power and ignite our hope. I'm going to ask Howard to share a slide with us, because this element of the ancient story is experienced without words, but rather through symbolic foods. This is a Seder plate that is the centerpiece of every Seder dinner. And you see some symbolic foods on the plate. One is called maror, the bitter herb that reminds us that we will experience bitterness. Part of the dinner ritual in my childhood was to dip parsley in salt water before eating it, to remember that sadness and tears are part of life. Beitzah, the roasted or hard-boiled egg, reminds us of the cycle of life. Karpas, a green vegetable, represents the coming of spring and renewal. Zroa, the shank bone, vegetarians substitute a blood-red vegetable like beets, symbolizes the sacrifices we must experience in life. And haroset, this one is everybody's favorite, and Bob and I have prepared some for all of you to enjoy at coffee hour because it is sweet. Haroset represents the mortar the enslaved Israelites used in Egypt. It's made of apples, nuts, dates, and sweet syrup. You can stop sharing the slide now. Thank you. Sadness and tears, hope and renewal, birth and death, sacrifice and sweetness. We can expect all these things as we journey into an uncertain future. The ancient stories teach us that this is normal. We have each other. We have our faith community. We are not alone. We will endure. We have our Canadian identity. And most importantly of all, we are answering the call of love. And in that spirit, let's sing together.
We will now have our offering. If you're in the hall, Charlotte Joyner and Debbie Keith will now pass the baskets for the collection. And the baskets will have those little card invitations to next Sunday's service, so please take one. If this is your first time with us, your presence is your contribution. Those online can go to our website and click the big blue donate button on the homepage and follow the instructions to donate via e-transfer or check. And for those of you who don't carry cash, we now accept your donations via debit or credit cards. This can be done at our welcoming table near the entry doors after the service. To help the wider community, 50% of all anonymous donations received are donated to the designated charity of the month. Our charity this month is Eco Justice, which began as the Sierra Legal Defense Fund back in 1990 in response to the Exxon Valdez disaster, then the world's worst oil spill. What started as two determined people working out of the back of a car is now a leading Canadian charity led by lawyers, scientists, and environmental experts. Eco-justice lawyers have been taking governments and polluters to court for 35 years, fighting for environmental justice at every level free of charge. If you are donating online or by check and want your donation to go to Eco-Justice, you will need to make a note of that on the e-transfer or check. We are grateful for your offering.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Thank you for being here this morning. Thank you to our greeters, to those at the welcoming table, to the basket passers, to those who make coffee, bring snacks, and help with coffee hour setup and cleanup. Thank you to our AV team, the Sunday services team, and our incomparable Leah Hokanson. Returning to the words of Wendell Pierce, where we began, storytelling is the gateway to truth-telling, which helps inform our opinions, decision-making, and self-views. Sharing our stories allows us to come together, declare what our values are, and act on them. Without storytelling, we would not have the layers of history that impact our present and influence the future. And returning to the words from our meditation, I'd like to repeat them again. In the springtime, we remember the promised land is not a destination, it is a way of going. The land beyond the Jordan, that country of freedom and dignity and laughter, you carry it inside you all the while. It is planted in your mind and heart already, before you ever start out, before it even occurs to you that in order to leave that life in Egypt, the intolerable bondage of that life, all you need to do is stand up and walk forward. And when we do that, my dear ones, we can truly declare that it is Liberation Day. Go in peace.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We are almost at the end of our service. After we sing Carry the Flame, you can join a social group both online and in person. Breakout rooms will be available online for 30 minutes. We will have snacks and social time in the hall after the service. We'll now sing our final song, Carry the Flame. The words are on both the back and side walls. Please stand as you are able and hold hands or touch elbows as you feel comfortable.